Barakallahu fikum. Alhamdulillah. Praise and thanks are due to Allah who enabled us to gather once again. We're continuing in Al-Mukhtasar Al-Lateef, the light summary. And we have reached the section for the Ghusl. And the author says, Fasl, section. Ghusl is obligatory for 5 things. Or by 5 things. Because of 5 things. So, what's the case of the human being? The human being is born not needing a ghusl. Is born not needing a ghusl in the first place. So then, what if a human being reached puberty not by ejaculation nor by menses and never had sexual intercourse? Then they still don't have to do a ghusl. So the ghusl is not going to be obligatory until something happens. The first thing, the insertion of the glans penis into the private part. Okay. So, that's clear for you in the first place. Glans penis means the head of the penis. Insertion here means the entire head of the penis disappears into the private part. Now, the Arabic word is farj. And this word private part, I have something in myself against it in this context, because you say private part, for me, implies you're talking about a human, because the animals don't have private parts, meaning it's not private, with the meaning that it's not private, right? Do the animals have to wear clothing, cover up? No. So if I want to nitpick my own words here, I'd rather say, because I'm trying to find something that's broad and covers everything, a sexual orifice. Orifice means like a hole, an opening, yes. The sexual here means from the front or the back. That's what's intended here. Even for the animal, the backside's not the sexual one, though, for him, for the animal. SubhanAllah. So, the Arabic language is broader here. It's more accommodating. So the farj is what's meant by it is the opening from the front or the back. The vagina or the anus. Both of those are farj. It has the meaning of opening, the word farj. Or a crevice. Or fissure. An opening. So maybe I cannot really translate it as close. For me, this is as close as I can get it. But then I still question if that covers the anus, if that's applicable to the anus. Why I'm putting it this way is to cover animals, because I don't want to call it the animal has a private part since they don't have to cover. But if I call it sexual, then is the anus sexual for the animal? As far as I know, it's not the case. So, if you have a suggestion, feel free. Because the rule does cover animals. Meaning, if a person inserted his penis into an animal, then he has to do a ghusl. The sexual part of the animal. Yani, the front or the back of the animal. And also the other way. If the penis of the animal penetrated someone's front or back, a man or a woman's front or back, yani like a man's back or a woman's front or back, then this one needs a ghusl. Meaning, the penetrated one needs a ghusl, even if the penetrator is an animal. And the penetrator needs a ghusl, even if the penetrated one is an animal, which is haram, major sin. That's amongst the sins that will get you damned. You will be cursed, a cursed one. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "La'natullahi man ata la'natullahi ala man ata bahima or kama qala." It means, God damn whoever approached an animal, meaning in that way. Also, there's a hadith, God damn whoever approached his wife from her rear. Whoever approached his wife from her rear. That means the anal sex. That's haram. Major sin, will get you cursed. And the wife can take her husband to the Muslim judge for this. Then the judge will forbid him. 2, the exiting of ejaculated fluid, meaning one's own ejaculated fluid, like I mentioned for you last time. But now I can reiterate that for you, make it more clear, or emphasize for you that. The exiting of one's own ejaculated fluid, meaning, why would say one's own ejaculated fluid? To exclude someone else's. How will someone else's ejaculated fluid come out of someone? Like the case I told you. A woman had intercourse with her husband, and he ejaculated, but she did not. For this case to work, what I want to tell you, for this scenario that I'm going to tell you to work, we have to say she did not have an ejaculation or her own climax. He did, but she did not. And then she did a ghusl. And let's say she made wudu too. And then after that, her husband's fluid came out of her. Now, here's a question. Is this an exiting of ejaculated fluid? Yes, it is. The author says here, the exiting of ejaculated fluid. So then, does this make her have to take a ghusl? The answer is no. Why? Because what's intended here is the exiting of one's own ejaculated fluid. That's what's going to make you have to do a ghusl. Is it though? Then is the author's statement lacking? No, it's not really lacking. Especially that the author's statement has alif lam on it in the Arabic. The. Now, this word the, that makes a big difference. Because the word the or the, it has meanings, has different connotations. It specifies in particular. Amongst what it does is that it specifies. The word the specifies. So it's as if saying if we put the, as if saying the exiting of the specific ejaculated fluid. Then what's specifically how? Specifically her own or one's own. Specifically one's own ejaculated fluid. So I'm going to keep the word the here. Maybe when I was translating this document, I was taking for granted how easy it is. Now I'm going over it with you, then that helps me to improve it. Question: so if she also ejaculated and later his ejaculation came out, is it that she needs to perform ghusl again because she's unsure? Well, the answer is yes, she does have to perform ghusl again, but I didn't learn that because she's unsure. Rather, it's likely is the case that her own mani is in there too. Most likely, her own mani is there too. It's mixed. Both of their mani is mixed there. Now, if you take even bigger book of fiqh, they're gonna add more details for you. Yani, if you were on a quest to become a scholar, then if you take advanced books, then their words are not like this, so light. This is just like Yani. In some of the books, what would they say? Because it's more advanced book, they're gonna say the exiting of one's own fluid that was not redeposited. The exiting of one's own fluid that was not redeposited means, okay, so your own fluid came out. Fine, that's clear. What if it was your own fluid, but you put it back in and then it came back out again? Uh, so you don't have to mention all those details when you're teaching someone at first because it's not usually the case, doesn't cross people's minds, and they will be able to understand their religion and practice their religion without mistakes. But as you go further and further, then they're going to build for you and give you more details. All right. The exiting of the ejaculated fluid. Now, as you know, inshallah, it has signs. Actually has two kinds of signs. Usually just learn about one kind of signs. Signs with an S has signs. Has two kinds of signs. But usually you hear about one kind, which I'll tell you first. What are these signs? That it comes out with pleasure. Three signs, as you know, three signs. That it comes out with pleasure, that it comes out in spurts, and that it has a certain smell. What kind of signs are these signs? These are the strong signs. Strong signs. So mani has two kinds of signs. It has strong signs and it has weak signs also. The weak signs, we don't use those to be sure that you have to do a ghusl. Weak sign is like the color. They don't say, and its color is, it does have a color, but the color is not a strong sign. So that's why when you learn about this on a basic level in particular, they don't say, and its color, and it has such and such color. They don't say it. They're going to mention it maybe, but it's not something. The color is not what's going to make you obligated to perform a ghusl. Rather, the uh, the feeling, or that it comes out in spurts, or it has certain smell. Or what's another sign? Like maybe it has a stickiness. The stickiness is not a strong sign, so they don't use that to determine that you're obligated to do a ghusl. Then the author says, Yani, when we say it has these three signs, this means if any one of these signs exists, then you're obligated. If you're sure that any one of these signs happened, then you're obligated to perform a ghusl. Meaning, why I'm saying it that way. What if you are positive that any of those signs, you verified any of those signs, but then when you looked, you didn't see anything? You are obligated to perform a ghusl. Then he says, menses, postpartum bleeding, and childbirth. Menses or menstruation. That is a naturally occurring bleeding. It's a healthy bleeding. Although it's painful, the woman has cramps and maybe would sting also. But it is a healthy bleeding, a naturally occurring bleeding that happens to a woman when she is at the earliest about 9 years old. About means approximately. She could be a few days before she turns 9, just a little bit. There's exact words. I'm not going into those now. I want to try to keep the explanation light, like the text itself is light. Few days before she turns 9, yes, possible. Yani, I could say to you, the earliest that she will menstruate is 9. The scholars, they say that, so I could say that and be compliant. But if you want to be so exact, they say it's approximately 9. Because possible that it would come very shortly before she turns 9 and is still menses. How shortly though? Now, if I go into that, it's going to become so technical that I just want to try to keep it lighter than that. A few days before she comes 9, for example, like if it were a week, for example, then that's menses. And what's the minimum and what's the maximum? Is there a minimum and a maximum? Rather, let me say. Yes, according to the Muslim scholars, there's a minimum and a maximum. But they don't agree about all of these things. What's the minimum and what's the maximum? So then one needs to learn one of the schools of law. I like to say school of law more than school of thought. One of the schools of law, so that he can take valid details, valid religiously recognized details for this. Yani, most of the details about menses, menstruation, are not from the Quran or the Hadith. Vast majority of the rules about menstruation and postpartum bleeding are on the part of the scholars' research. There is references in the Quran and in the Hadiths about this. Like, وَيَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الْمَحِيضِ. They ask you about menses, O Muhammad. قُلْ هُوَ أَذَى. Say, it is excrement. فَاعْتَزِلُوا النِّسَاءَ فِي الْمَحِيضِ. So, refrain from the women during the menses. Yani, don't have intercourse with them during the menses. But this is not telling us when does it start, how long does it last, etc. So its earliest is that it would come at 9, approximately. And according to Imam Ash-Shafi'i, it lasts for at least 24 hours. But that doesn't have to be 24 consecutive hours. Even if it is, rather, 24 hours spread over 15 days. 24 hours spread over 15 days. Meaning, 15 days is the maximum. That's half of a month. A complete lunar month is 30 days, a complete one. An incomplete lunar month is 29 days. A complete one is 30 days. So 15 days is half of a month. The maximum of menses, according to Imam Ash-Shafi'i, is 15 days, half of a month. The minimum of it, according to Ash-Shafi'i, is 1 day, which is 24 hours. However, it's known that menstrual blood can come and go, start and stop. Pause and then restart, and then pause and then restart. So, what if she never had 24 hours of bleeding consecutively, nonstop? Still, it could be menses if it's 24 hours of bleeding inside of 15 days. And then, so let's say it took 5 days, for example, for totaling all of the bleeding up to 24 hours. Once we total those bleedings, this 24 hours of bleedings over those 5 days, then we're going to know that all the 5 days were menses. The whole 5 days, meaning when the blood was coming and when it wasn't coming, all of it was menses. So then, once she confirms that the bleeding that she experienced was menses, then when it stops, she needs to do a ghusl. According to what I'm telling you, if the bleeding started, then the rule is she will immediately assume that it is menses, although 24 hours haven't passed yet. But if it stops before 24 hours, then she knows that she doesn't have to do a ghusl. But if it comes back inside of 15 days, then she's going to assume that it is menses. But if it stops before a total of 24 hours still, then she knows that she doesn't have to do a ghusl. And that's how she goes until the bleeding really reaches 24 hours of bleeding by putting it all together, adding it all together. Once she adds that 24 hours of bleeding, then she knows that all of the time was menses. Now she has confirmed menstruation. If it stops after that, she has to do a ghusl because she doesn't know it's going to come back. And even if it usually does come back, the rule is that she doesn't assume that it will. So she does her ghusl before the prayer time goes out. Yani, she might have a habit that it comes and goes, so she might expect that it's going to come back. So what can she do? She can just wait. If the prayer time gets tight, she's waiting to see if the blood's going to come back before she goes and wets her hair, as you call. So if the prayer time gets tight and the bleeding never came back, then she doesn't wait anymore, and she does a ghusl and she prays. But if it does come back, then she's going to know that she still has her menses. And it can't go more than 15 days. If it does go more than, if bleeding goes more than 15 days, then we will know that she is not in menses anymore. Meaning on day 16, she's still bleeding. She's going to know she's not in menses anymore. What is she in then? Then she's in sickness, bleeding, istihaba. When did the sickness bleeding start? That depends. Like, that depends. So if you want to ask me, you can ask me. But I'm going to just try to keep it light here. So if it's 15, yeah, the maximum of menses is 15 days. According to Ash-Shafi'i, the minimum is 24 hours. Inside of 15 days, though, it doesn't have to be 24 consecutive hours. How does she verify these hours, though? She goes by what she sees. Meaning, what if she woke up at Fajr to find vaginal bleeding? How does she know when it started? She doesn't have to know when it started. Rather, she's just going to start counting from when she saw it. That's the religious rule. So from the moment she saw that, then she's going to start counting then. She doesn't say, but what did it start while I was asleep? How many hours ago? I need to know so I can track my 24 hours. I don't know. Did it start an hour in my sleep? 2 hours ago before I woke up? What? None of that is regarded. Just when she sees, that's it. So she woke up at Fetcher time, for example, and she looked there and she saw blood. Then she's going to start counting from there. Like, for example, what if a woman were fasting? Because, menses breaks the fast. So what if she were fasting and then she broke her fast, and then after she broke her fast, she looked and she found vaginal bleeding there. Is her fast for that day that she just completed valid or it's not valid? You can tell me the answer. If you understand what I'm saying, you know the answer. Unless you understand, but you don't have the confidence to be sure, like a lot of people. Is her fasting valid for that day or it's not valid? 5. It's valid, correct. I'll repeat though. You said repeat? Yeah, because it counts when she sees it. I'll repeat though. Correct answer. First of all, let me remind you, what's the rule? The rule is she counts the hours by seeing it. She doesn't assume anything, in other words. That's why I said she wakes up at Fajr time to find vaginal bleeding there. Does she say, but I want to count my 24 hours. How do I know? Maybe it started an hour before I woke up or 2 hours before I woke up. None of that counts. Just from the time she sees it is what counts. So that's when she'll start counting. In the scenario I gave you, it's Fajr time. So then I gave you another question, or I gave you a question that tests your comprehension of this rule. What if she were fasting all day, then she broke her fast, and then after that she looked to find vaginal bleeding? Is the day that she just completed valid or is not valid? So your sister gave the correct answer. It's valid. She doesn't assume that it started during the daytime at Asr time, for example. Like if she were to say, yeah, but when I went to the bathroom at Dhuhr time or Asr time, there wasn't any blood there. Now it's Maghrib time and I broke my fast and there's blood there. Must have come at Asr time, thereby breaking my fast. This has no regard. Don't go there unless you want the devil to bother you. Eat off the food? Okay, so that's clear, inshallah ta'ala. Those are the religious rules. In very severe summary, I just told you about menses in like 10 or 15 minutes. This is a very, very, very detailed chapter. But let me give you one benefit that we are talking about religion here. What if the doctor told you, like, what if a woman, she experienced vaginal bleeding, let's say 20 days, and she went to the doctor, and the doctor said, so you're still having your menses. You have, I don't know what they might call it, prolonged menses, let's just say. Very famous. And you'll say, no, this is a famous medical term. This is a prolonged menstruation. So are you going to consider that this is still menses? This is a question for you. When the doctor told you after 20 days, this is a prolonged menses, this is a well-documented medical case. Are you going to consider that menstruation? No, you are not. Why? Because he's not talking from religion. He is not a faqih. Even if he were really a faqih and he told you that, then he's not talking to you from the perspective of fiqh, though. He's talking to you from the perspective of his own medical field, not religious legal rules. So don't mix those. Like, for example, according to our scholars, the daytime starts at Fajr time. But according to astronomers, the dawn is still part of the night. So who are you going to listen to for religious rules? The scholars. Postpartum bleeding is the bleeding that comes after delivering a baby, or yani, more broadly, after emptying the womb, after the emptying of the womb. Postpartum bleeding is the bleeding that occurs after the emptying of the womb. So to include a miscarriage, so to include also the when the baby is taken out from the belly. If she didn't have a vaginal birth, rather her belly was cut open and then the baby was pulled out that way, and then she had a vaginal bleeding. This is postpartum bleeding. The minimum of it is a moment. The maximum of it is 60 days. That's 2 months. 4 times as long as menses could be. Postpartum bleeding is concentrated menstrual blood anyway. When it stops, she has to perform a ghusl, and childbirth. When the baby comes out, she has to perform a ghusl. Because the origin of the baby is sperm. Yani, the sperm of the mother and the father mixed together. Not sperm and an egg, rather two sperms. The man's sperm and the woman's sperm, they mix. They fuse into one thing, then sticks to the womb, and it grows from there. Not a sperm and an egg. Then when the baby comes out, it's like the sperm coming out. So she has to do a ghusl. Wallahu a'lam. Any question? Barakallahu feekum. I always love my lessons with you, brothers and sisters, inshallah. I look forward to seeing you in the next lesson, inshallah.